All right, good morning, Lagos. Good morning, everyone. This is Follow the Money brought to you by Naira in partnership with UBA. I am Ugodre. So, if you're just listening to this for the first time, we do this every Monday, 8 to 8:30 on this amazing station. And of course, you can get previous episode and indeed this current episode on any podcast channel that you prefer. Of course, you can catch me right on video on our YouTube channel as well. Just go to YouTube and search for at Nairametrics, and of course, you can also get other YouTube programs. By the way, there's a new show we have on our YouTube channel. You don't want to miss that. It's called Drinks and Mics. Kind of like that word, drinks and mics. Yeah, so we basically break down useful stuff about the economy, about anything really, business, fashion, general stuff, even science. We talk about it there. It's me and some two guys. You might want to check it out on our YouTube channel. It's gonna be up later today. It's called Drinks and Mics. Got a lot of drinks on it as well. Anyway, wow, what a week it was last week. We'll probably just start off with a bit of, what happened with the exchange rate last week. I mean, I still find it hard to like figure these things out, right? Because this time last week, it was almost like, hey, we are now sub 1.6 and looking like December was going to close pretty strong because December has traditionally closed strong in Nigeria for the exchange rate in Nigeria over the last few years or so. And then everything just nosedive. Like, what? It just went from like 1.5 something to 1.7. And I try to explain it in one of my videos. If you have seen it on YouTube, try to explain what happened to the exchange rate. So I don't know what's going to happen this week, but it kind of looks like it was hovering around 1.680 or thereabout at the parallel market. The official market still remains at about 1.535 or so. So the disparity seems to be widening. We don't want that disparity because when there's a disparity, then there's arbitrage opportunities because you could just buy an official market and go flip it in the parallel market. So we don't want that happening. But we're interested to see how this week pans out. We did hear that there was some surge in demand last week. That may have been why we saw that depreciation. So maybe that's not going to happen this week. Let's just see. It's currently at about 1.680. So pay attention. By the way, a lot of IJGB guys are already back in the country or coming into the country in droves. So come on, you guys, bring your dollars and spend. That's what we need. We just want liquidity on the street, right? Talking about IJGB, what I thought that this was a pretty tough year for everyone, isn't it? Isn't that the impression that we all get? Like, if you ask the next person, like, oh boy, at this, man, things tight, things tough. But where is all that money coming from? Because everybody seems to be spending money for the holiday. Like, you go to the market, like, it's traffic. Like, supermarkets, clothing stores, even open markets. Like, people are shopping and buying. Where do you guys get all this money from? And of course, there's been a lot of throwdown end of the year parties, like amazing ones, right? And looks like, as bad as things are, Nigerians just have find a way of celebrating and making things work. So I don't know, maybe somebody was wondering, have they started paying? Well, it's 16th of December, so at least it's the last week. I don't think they would have started paying 13th month yet. So where is all that spending coming from? But remember, guys, whatever it is that you're earning, whatever it is that you're getting, whether it's your 13th month, whether it's your bonuses, or whether it's even your double salaries, whatever it is that you're getting, always remember the time to invest is usually towards the end of the year. Because when you invest towards the end of the year, you tend to come out the next year higher, especially if it's a very good year for whatever investment products that you put your money into. Talking about investment, we come back to what this show is about. Follow the Money is a show about the capital market, focus really on the Nigerian stock market, and sometimes we touch on the US stock market in case you're wondering why we're here. And so last week, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, or Nigerian Exchange as it's called, its all share index, which is basically a measure of the performance of stocks over a period in time, gained 1.19% last week, and the market capitalization of the exchange finally hit 60 trillion. We were there at some point, but now we're at 60 trillion naira in terms of market capitalization, still way below what I think should be the potential of a stock market across the world. Stock markets are usually even larger than their GDP in terms of market capitalization. So we're still sub GDP levels. So our GDP is about 220 trillion or thereabout. Just to give you an idea of how much potential we can have with the capital market. Anyways, we're at 60 trillion, and we did see top performance for all indexes. The All-Share Index, like I mentioned, was up 1.92%. The NGX 30 index, which is the 30 most capitalized companies, was up 1.1%, and the Consumer Goods Index up 2.93%. The Premium Index, which is the index for the big boys, was up 3%, and the Banking Index just about 1.4%. But the index that really surprised me the most last week was the Insurance Index. I've been talking about insurance for a bit on the show, and I've profiled some insurance stocks for you to probably put on your watch list or perhaps buy. So I wasn't wrong, because insurance stocks were up 16.6, I beg your pardon, we're up 5.52% last week alone. And so yet month to date, that's this month alone, they're up 16.6%. Okay, I think I kind of mixed up the All-Share Index, 1.19%. NGX 30 did drop, and then the NGX Consumer Goods Index 0.14%, Premium Index 0.13%. But the Insurance Index, that's week to date, by the way, is 5.5%. So month to date, 16.6%. In the quarter, the Insurance Index is up 32.3%, and of course, year to date, 76.8%. So pretty solid for a lot of insurance stocks this year. I think insurance stocks essentially stole the show. This year, insurance stocks have obviously beaten out the All-Share Index, which is up 32.9% year to date. Still slightly lower than inflation rate, but well ahead of most investments out there. So you see, as much as you might think the stock market is not doing well, or it's where you think if you put your money in, your money never comes out, it's up 32.9% year to date. And guess, as much as insurance stocks are doing well, guess which index or which collection of stocks are even doing better than insurance? Oil and gas. Yeah, oil and gas stocks up 157% this year alone. And during the week, they were up 7.6%. So you see, oil and gas stocks even doing better than insurance stocks. And month to date, they're up 12.8%, and quarter to date, 34.9%. So we're going to do a rundown of the top performing stocks for the week ended December, that will be December 13th, right? Yeah, December 13th, 2024. And so coming on the 10th position was PZ Cussons. Do you have that in your portfolio? If you have PZ Cussons in your portfolio, that stock was up 13.6% last week. And of course, Northern Nigerian Flour Mills, a little not as popular as Boa Cement, as the main flour mills itself, or Honeywell Flour Mills, but still, a company that operates in the northern part of the country, was up 15.2% last week. Not a very liquid stock, so as much as it did post gains, it's not one of those stocks that if you put your money in, you expect to get money out almost immediately. So you might want to be careful there. Aradel, newly listed oil and gas stock, probably one of the reasons why the oil and gas stocks did very well last week, was up 18%. There was a bit of news about Aradel, which I would speak to later on the show. NEM Insurance. Remember, NEM Insurance was on my list. I didn't even talk about them last week when I did a versus with ICO Insurance. NEM Insurance was up 18% last week. So NEM Insurance shareholders should be smiling with those sort of gains. Guys, 18% in a week. And this is not one of those stocks that if you put your money in, you're not going to get it out. That stock is fully liquid, which means if you put your money in there last week, you probably would have exited very well with 18.4%. Don't say people are not making money. People are making money from the Nigerian stock market. Of course, Sunny Assurance, 20.79. Coronation Insurance, up 25%. This stock has been flying all year round. Corn oil as well up 33% in 1 week. And then tantalizers, recall I did mention on the show that they had some acquisition done. Their shares were acquired by a new majority shareholder a few weeks ago. It appears since that deal was done, the share price has been appreciating, and just last week alone was up 52%. So Tantalizer is already looking like one of the best performing stocks this year. This is a stock that has been suffering, like almost dead, but it's back from the brink, and looks like things are putting up for it. And then African Prudential, which was pretty much a surprise for even me that I tend to track the stock market, coming on the back of a good performance last week, it again posted 59% upside this week. 59 freaking percent gain this week. This is incredible stuff to be at number 2. And of course, Golden Guinea Brewery. Geez, I don't know who still drinks that beer, but I think it's pretty popular in some parts of the country. They are also listed on the exchange, in case you didn't know that. Not one of those very liquid stocks, a bit shallow. Not one of those ones that if you put your money in, you might get it out almost immediately. Might be a bit of a struggle, but they gained 60% last week to be the best performing stock for the week ended December 13, 2024. And so if you go to the stocks that did not perform well, we're seeing secure electronics technology with the worst performance at 22.8%. Most of the stocks here are mostly penny stocks, even though we do have Julius Berger dropping 10% last week. We also saw Consolidated Hallmark drop 9%, Honeywell drop 8%, and Livestock Feed drop 7.8%. Of course, FTN Cocoa, which I'm going to speak to later on the show, dropped 7.49%. So that basically is a rundown of how stocks perform during the week. By the way, if you're a shareholder of FBN Holdings, that is the parent company of First Bank, they did extend their rights issue from the announcement that was made during the week, 18 days extension for trading in the rights issue. There was a notification at the exchange that trading in FBN Holdings right issue, which is currently trading at 25 Naira on the basis of 1 ordinary share for every 6 ordinary shares. As at the close of business, it's October 18th. If you recall, the rights issue started on the 4th of November 2024. So they have 18 days extension for trading in the rights issue. So the rights issue will now close on the 30th of December 2024. So if you haven't bought it, you could still buy it. Closing date would have been on Thursday, 12th of December, but they have extended it to 30th December 2024. I mean, that's basically been the case all around for most of the banking stocks that have tried to raise capital. So not all of them have did extend their right issue, but there were quite a number of them who did. And so FBN has extended its right issue today, last week rather. So in case you still want to buy it, it's available up until the 30th of December 2024. All right, so we're done with the first half of the show. When we're back, I'm going to talk about a cross-section of stocks that were in the news last week. What exactly is popping with those stocks and why were they on my radar? Be right back. All right, welcome back. This is Follow the Money, brought to you by Nairametrics in partnership with UBA. My name is Ugodre. So we do this every Monday, 8 to 8:30 on this channel. Of course, you can watch this particular episode or any of our previous episodes on our YouTube channel at Nairametrics, or any podcast channel or any podcast platform that is preferred for you. Whenever you want to listen to podcasts, just go there and search for Nairametrics. All right, so we're back to the second half of this show, and I've got a number of gist to give you here. So first is, have you ever do you know that there is a company on the exchange that basically posts zero revenues? I mean, zero, like not a dime of revenue. Yeah. So they just like you could go a whole year and there's no revenue at all, but there are expenses, and so that means the company just wasn't just trading, wasn't selling anything at all. And it's an agro-based company, but it appears that they are undergoing some kind of restructuring, and that company is Ella Lakes. So Ella Lakes was agro company that's I think into fishing, even though they've been trying their hands on a few other things. But they were in the news during the week, and they had their AGM, and at the AGM they made a number of decisions. They took a number of decisions, I beg your pardon. One of the first decisions was to change their year end to the calendar year, January to December 31st, 2000, any year in particular. So if you're Ella Lakes shareholder, which I really doubt a lot of people are, but I mean, you just might want to know that they have changed their year end. It used to be August 1st to July 31st, which is not very conventional with how most Nigerian companies run their year end. So they changed it now to January to end December 31st every year. So January 1st to December 31st every year. But that was really the main gist for me. The main gist for me is that they have decided to convert some of their debt into equity. It's not something that you hear happen a lot on the exchange. I mean, it's possible that companies can do that. Maybe when you have huge debt and there's probably no immediate way of repaying that debt, you can convert that debt to equity if your shareholders approve that. Or you can raise equity to repay that debt. That's usually how these things are often done. Or you repay the debt from the money the business generates. But like I told you, this particular business generates zero revenue. So if it generates zero revenue, then there's really no way of raising money organically to pay that debt. So the next thing would have been to go and raise equity to pay the debt. But raising equity is also not simple. I don't know how you want to raise equity when you don't have revenue. So what seems to have happened is that the shareholders of the company have decided to convert the debt that they're owing to external people or maybe internal people into equity. So we kind of looked into that at Naira, and we figured that there was a 1.5 billion Naira debt that they do owe one of the directors. Not really sure which of the directors that is, or which of the majority shareholder, but it was listed as a director-related loan. So that loan is now going to be converted into equity by this company. That's a significant amount of money. I suspect that could essentially just wipe out a lot of the minority shareholders as well. Of course, there is another 600 or so million in loans that they owe the central bank. I suspect that might have been some of this intervention funds related money, and so that also I'm not sure whether that's part of what they want to convert into equity, but what they've said is that they've agreed to convert their debt into equity. So if last I checked, their market cap was around I think it's 8 billion naira thereabout or so. So pretty obvious that they might see share price get diluted by maybe as much as 20, 25, 30%, if I'm not mistaken, because they're currently owing they're probably owing 2.7 billion. So even if they only convert the directors' loans into shares, then that could lead to some significant dilution for Ella Lakes. We're trying to see what happens to Ella Lakes next year. I think that a lot of the majority shareholders, CBO Capital, appears was in the news at some point saying looks like they were also looking for someone to probably buy them out so that they could exit and then new fresh blood could get into that company and maybe see how they can turn that company around. Ella Lakes was acquired as well a few years ago. I still remember that acquisition. We did have an interview with the CEO at the time, but I don't know, maybe their plans just haven't really panned out as expected. Now the next stock is Seplat. Seplat was in the news last week, for all the good reasons, by the way. So they finally released their prospectus for the acquisition of mobile upstream asset. If you remember, that acquisition has been on the table for some time until the president eventually approved it. And so the CEO of Seplat, Roger Brown, confirmed that the acquisition will be finalized December 12th, which was last week, Thursday. And so with that deal, Seplat's production capacity would go up by to about approximately 120,000 barrels of crude oil equivalent per day. That's a significant boost. This is why Seplat shares has been basically to the moon all year round. He also described the acquisition as transformative. And so what's the key deal here? Seplat's acquisition is essentially $800 million acquisition, which includes $672 million that they are meant to pay at closing. And then they had already done a $128 million deposit as at 2022. And then there's a deferred payment of $275 million due by December 2025 to cover decommissioning and JV cost with no new equity issuance required. So Seplat, I kind of think that with this deal, it makes them the largest indigenous oil and gas company, at least listed on the exchange, if not even in general. But I mean, this is of course excludes the NNPC, which still remains the largest. But in terms of privately owned, company, there are very few that are as close, to Seplat in terms of size, and it's still the largest oil and gas company on the exchange in terms of market capitalization. So, good stuff there for Seplat, based on what we heard. So again, final consideration after adjustment is $800 million. So Seplat is looking good for its shareholders, and I mean, it didn't really impact its share price during the week. I didn't see Seplat's share price, sort of go up like it did. I think investors already priced in a lot of that stuff. So Seplat currently trading at 5,700 naira per share, but still one of the best performing shares this year in terms of share price appreciation. So Seplat currently at 2 trillion in terms of market capitalization. Pretty huge stock, over $1 billion, and one of the few Nigerian stocks that's worth over $1 billion. Now we'll go on to Dangote Sugar. So Dangote Sugar was also in the news last week, and so they released an offer, a commercial paper offering, which essentially is just debt, asking for short-term debt, Series 6 and Series 7, and they were looking for 50 billion naira in debt. And so what does this really mean, and how does this mean to you? Well, the point is that a lot of this debt come with quite interesting mouth-watering interest rates. So for the companies that do buy this commercial paper, they're looking for good returns, especially insurance companies. The last time they did the debt Series 4 and 5, we tracked it on Nairametrics. It was about 23 and 25%. So pretty good stuff. This time around, it looks as if this Series 6, which has a 180-day tenure, is likely to be going for about 25% discount, which implies a yield of 28%. Of course, Series 7 is going to be going for about 24.5%. That is a 270-day tenure, which has an implied yield of about 30%. So the offer remains up until December 12th, so it's pretty expired if you're just listening. I'm sorry. It just came out last week. These things, but if you subscribe to Nairametrics, you'll be getting these things on the go. Now, another major gist as well, it was Access Holdings. Access Holdings was on the news last week, and they announced that its banking subsidiary, Access Bank UK, has also established its first fully owned subsidiary in Malta. Yep. So Access Bank now has a subsidiary in Malta. You all know when you hear Malta, how Malta has been in the news trending for a bit. But Access Bank has been accelerating its expansion across Africa And the way they're going in the next 5 years, likely going to be one of the largest, if not the largest, banking institution or financial service institution in the whole of Africa. So they are high up there, and if you listen to what the CEO said, Roosevelt, he says Europe has become Africa's leading trading partner, supported by initiatives like the Economic Partnership Agreement and the AfCFTA. With Europe and Africa economic relations evolving, Access Bank Malta is ideally positioned to deepen trade and meet the growing banking and financing needs of clients in these dynamic markets. So Access Bank has been on an acquisition spree all around. If you recall, they did acquire 80% stake in Uganda's Finance Trust. They also acquired National Bank of Kenya, African Banking Corporation of Tanzania, and then just recently also acquired Standard Chartered's assets in Angola and Sierra Leone. Let's talk of the acquisition of the ARM pension. So doing a lot of solid stuff. Just be good to see how what that means for shareholders. And quickly we go to Aradel. Aradel, who they were in the news because they gained 10% during the week. They've also announced plans to acquire 5.14% stake in Chapel Energy's Mauritius Limited, a company investing in high value and established upstream energy projects across Africa. So that deal was very well received by investors, perhaps rewarding the company with a 10% gain. And finally, MTN was also in the news. They're also issuing their own commercial paper, Series 13 and 14, raising 72 billion. So companies do raise debt a lot. So even large companies like MTN rely a lot on debt to run their business. So that has been Follow the Money for the week. We do hope that you found today's episode enriching. Of course, we do this every Monday. So if you miss any part of this show, just go to our YouTube channel and you can get it. Until we see you again next week, do have a profitable week ahead. Goodbye, everyone.